My name is Adam Csásci. I am the director of Land of Storms. And I just want to say a few things about the film. There are certain things in a society that we cannot talk about because they are taboo. And I think that those are the exact things that we should talk about, because the duty of art is to undermine taboo. This is what we have to do. Thank you.
Most mi van?
Semmi, csak elviszem a fát. Minek jött ide ez a gyerek?
Csak úgy jött. Meglátogatni.
És ő miben jó?
Ezt hogy érted?
Neki is fizetsz majd, vagy ő ingyen csinálja?
The audience took it so well, that the film got so much love. Suddenly everything seemed worthwhile, you know. So because this is why I made this film. I didn't make it for myself. And I also didn't make it to be a rock star. But I made the film to communicate with people, and I saw that it does. And it was wonderful. It's beyond words.
What do you think will the reaction be like in Hungary?
I don't think that the reaction will be as enthusiastic. But we made the film, I made the film to change this. So I hope that the best thing that comes out of this film is that it's going to start a dialogue about the topic in Hungary. And if that is done, if the film does that, if it starts people thinking about this topic, about gay rights, tolerance, conservative mindset, so about this whole topic, then the film made its mark. So if it starts a social dialogue about this topic, then it did what I wanted it to do.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of violence and homophobia in the movie, but the movie is set more or less in the countryside. It's not set in Budapest or something, like a big city. Is there a difference between big cities and the countryside in Hungary, or is there homophobia everywhere, or how would you describe the situation?
Well, the countryside, and I don't think this is a Hungary-specific problem, is always, rural areas always have a more conservative mindset. I wouldn't really use the word homophobic, I would use the word closed and conservative, because homophobic, you cannot think of that as having value, but not closed, but conservative can have a value, okay? And I think the problem is that if you come from a background that has very conservative values, it's very easy to hate minorities. But the problem, to my mind, is not hate, it's the lack of acceptance, okay? You can hate somebody all you want. We have to accept them, give them the same rights. And this is what the problem is, I think. You can hate minorities all you want. I don't want you to hate them, but you can. You can say, this is not, you can say, I don't like this. But you can't say that I don't accept this. And as a society, any society, we can't say that we cast them out, not give them the same rights. This is very crucial. I think You know, tolerance has no degrees, it has no shades. It either is or isn't. All right? We can't say that a society is tolerant because gays can kiss on the street or hold hands. This is not progress. Progress is when they have the exact same rights. They have the right to marry. They have the right to have children. That is what tolerance is. So, yeah.
Well, I have to admit that I don't know that much about the situation in Hungary at the moment. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if we just probably wait for a second.
Yeah, okay. That's no problem.
Yeah, I have to admit I don't know that much about the situation in Hungary. I mean, I'm following the news and the big things like the political parties there, that very conservative government and so forth.
Yes,
and
there is a conservative government.
yeah, and those things, but I don't know exactly what it is like with the gay and lesbian rights in the country.
Is this the next question?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think there is a. I think the answer is much like the answer to your previous questions. I mean, I don't think that there is a Hungary-specific problem with gay and lesbian rights. I mean, on the surface, Hungary pretends that there is no problem, that there is no issue. Gay and lesbian rights don't suffer very graphic. I'm not going to come out of this right, but there is no very strict violation of these, very graphic violation of these rights. However, I think here lies a deeper problem and that goes back to my previous answer, that as long as they don't have the same rights, they don't have rights, okay? They have to have the exact same rights as the mainstream, as every other person in society. And it doesn't matter how tolerant a society is towards gays as long as they don't have the exact same rights. And this is the problem in Hungary, and this is the problem in lots of other countries where gay people, where lesbian people don't have the exact same rights as all the other people.
Well, in the movie I had the feeling it's not just about statal rights, but it's also on a very personal level, that there are conflicts, especially between fathers and sons. As far as I remember, there are no conflicts between mothers and sons. I don't think there is
a big conflict. There is a conflict when the mother says, "This is a sin and it's disgusting."
Ah, yeah, I remember, of the other one who's not coming from Germany to Hungary. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the other one has the problem with the father and also with his father figure, with his trainer in Germany, and I found that very interesting. And I wondered if Hungary is a very patriarchal society, if that is something that is very common, this conflict between father and son, but maybe also between the parents and the sons and daughters when they are gay or lesbian.
I don't think that Hungary is any more patriarchal than any other, you know, European country. Don't picture it as conservative as the government suggests. Okay. People are not. I think most of the people are not as conservative as the leading party. So. So no, I don't think that this is a typical problem. I think this is a typical problem. What you're talking about is more of a typical problem of adolescence, of teenagers. You know, rebellion against the parents, problems with the parents, clashes between different mindsets. However, the problems between parents, the generation gap, parents, I mean, Szabolcs's father, the main character's father, turning against his son, not being able to accept his son being gay, the mother turning around, the other main character, the boy from the village, not being able to accept that he's gay. These reactions were put in the film to show how a very narrow-minded, very conservative view cannot make sense of this issue. The father posits this as something that cannot be talked about, only accepted. The end, he accepts his son being gay, but his acceptance is what actually society does. He casts the son out. He says, you can go and do whatever you want, okay? You can get out of the car, I won't take you back. You will not be punished. You can just stay out, okay? So you can stay away. And what the mom says is another very common way of making sense of homosexuality. It's a sin, that it's disgusting. So we put these reactions in the film to highlight how a conservative mindset makes sense of this and how it's inappropriate, how it's impossible. I mean, how it's impossible to understand homosexuality from these conservative, closed mindset. And none of the parents can communicate with their children. The key to understanding is communication, and they cannot communicate. And these people, it's very important that these people, the parents, are not evil. I didn't want to portray them as bad people. They're good people, but they cannot let go of values that were built into them so deep that they have only one way of seeing the world. They cannot open. They don't have any other means. They don't have the reflective means to make sense of this situation.
But this lack of communication, I had the feeling that was also something which you could see among the three men. I mean, especially between the one from Germany and the one from Hungary who could not speak German or English because they couldn't really communicate at all. But also between the others, I mean, they never really talked about their situation, they never really talked about what they want. And in those rare situations where they did, I had the feeling they misunderstand each other. For example, when Csaba talks with the German guy, he's talking with him on the phone, and he's not saying, please come and visit me or anything, but the German understands it that way and says, well, why did you ask me to come then? And then he says, I never did. And I found very interesting how they can not communicate with each other.
Well, the reason for this is I wanted to highlight that coming from the background where they are socialized, they're football players, it's a macho world. What they are going through cannot be talked about. Again, just like the parents, they themselves don't have the means to cope with this. Nobody ever prepared them for this, the society that they live in, the background, or their immediate surroundings, the football world. It doesn't prepare you for this. It doesn't prepare you for being able to talk about that you're gay. So that's why we omitted reflection from the dialogues, and that's why you're actually saying it right. Most of the times, dialogue only brings misunderstanding in the film, because there is an experience that these people cannot articulate. They can't come to terms with it. And Szabolcs, the main character, comes to terms with it by the middle of the film, or 2/3 of the film. No, actually about 2/3. When he tells his dad I'm staying here with him. He makes a commitment. He comes to terms with it. He realizes that this is what his life is going to be, and he faces up to that. However, Áron, the boy from the village, can never have that because he is from a Catholic conservative background that is like a wall, okay, and inside he just feels that he's hitting the wall, you know, with all his force, and suddenly at one point he disintegrates. What he is just broken to pieces, and that's when he commits the murder. And everything that he is lies in ruin.
Well, now you said a lot of things I would like to connect to. First of all, maybe the football thing. I don't know if you heard about it, but it was a very big thing in Germany a while ago, I think a month ago. Yeah, and the coming out of an ex-national football player in Germany was a very big thing. And I found it very interesting that then this movie came and dealt with exactly this topic. And yeah, that was interesting to see. And the other thing is, I also had the feeling that the society you show there is very Catholic, and the murder in the end also seemed very, very full of Christian symbolic to me. How he was killed, how you shot it, and that was intended that the symbolic way.
The whole film is full of this. If you look at it, he comes back from Germany. That also has a biblical reference. He visits his father, and he is not accepted. That also has a biblical reference. The whole film is set at Easter time. Again. There is a continuous theme of death and rebirth, and death of self and rebirth is a constant theme in the film. Also, I mean, there are still others. Yes, the wound at the end, definitely. The way we shot the last scene, definitely. So yes, it was intentional to have this this symbolic in the film. I'm not saying that we relied on it very heavily, but it was always there loosely in the background.
Yeah, but then I was thinking, or I was wondering if the end could be understood as a sacrifice of him being killed like Jesus-like, because he was killed by the other guy. The wound, you already said, is a biblical reference. And he stayed, even though he knew that bad things could happen to him. So I had the feeling it was sort of his sacrifice to stay.
Yes, it was a sacrifice. Szabolcs sacrificed himself for the way of life that he wanted to lead and for the person that he loved.
Another thing about the football players, you said that they don't have a way to communicate, that they don't have a language to talk about homosexuality, but at the same time I had the feeling that this world of those gay men is a world where everything is very emotional, very soft, where they are actually also caring about each other, while the heterosexual world seemed to be very harsh, very non-accepting, very excluding, and I had the feeling that you had these two poles in there.
See, this was not intentional. I mean, obviously the world of the main characters is got a lot more attention and care from me. Because I wanted to highlight, I wanted to say that homosexual love is not something out of science fiction. It's real, it's just as tender, it's just as beautiful. One of the things I wanted to highlight in this film, because it's also a love story, that gay love is just as beautiful, and the gay love story is just as beautiful as a straight one. It has the same kind of beauty, the same kind of emotion, the same kind of tenderness. And I find it I find that it's very hard for a lot of people to understand this, and it's very hard for them to accept this. And the fact that the straight world, that the heterosexual world was portrayed as a cold place goes back to what that world is like. I mean, first you see the world of professional football, which is a very cold place. Professional sport is not for the faint-hearted. I mean, exactly the way we portrayed it, these kids, these young kids are humiliated even harder than we showed it. So there is even more extreme humiliation, because the real extreme is psychological torment, and you cannot believe what they go through. Obviously, these kids want it, so they want to be stars, they want to be big footballers. That's good, but they are subjected to extreme punishment. And they are treated as machines. And this is why that world is really cold. And the world of the parents, which is the other part of, and the world of the village, which is the other part of the heterosexual world that the film shows. I've already talked about why the parents, this world is cold. And I don't think that the village was particularly portrayed as a cold place or as a place that is very harsh. I wanted it to portray it as a place that is defined by religion, and defined where the community is together, is held together by religion. That is always the you know, signpost of very conservative values. So, and the parents I've already talked about. So I've already talked about why you might feel that the parents' world is portrayed as cold. But again, I wanted to, with the parents, I never wanted to show that these are bad people. I wanted to show real drama, the drama of not being able to accept difference, of not being able to accept minorities in them, because that is a drama itself.
Yeah, when I talked about the harshness, I was thinking about the scene where one guy gets beaten up during the football match by the villagers.
Yes.
And the other scene where Áron gets brand marked.
Yes.
No, you don't say brand. Well, he got marked with a cigarette in his face. Those were the scenes where I thought, well, they are very cruel. They are very.
They are. But yes, but that were what you're talking about then is the physical side of discrimination, violence. So yes, obviously. But this is nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, violence should always be portrayed as harsh and cruel. We cannot shut our eyes. If I wouldn't have portrayed it in a very harsh way or in a very cruel way, then it would be just easy to take. But getting branded because you're gay should never happen. Okay? So we should portray it in a way so that when people see it, they feel that this is an outrage and it should never ever happen to anybody, anywhere.
When will be the premiere in Hungary? Do you already know?
The premiere will be on the 27th of March.
And will you also have public discussions afterwards?
I think, yes, I hope so, I think so.
Okay. Well, I hope that you will have joyful discussions then, that you can actually start a discussion in Hungary about the topic. And I thank you very much for the interview.
I hope so too, and thank you very much.